Waking up to the sight of a pretty young woman going down on you? Honestly, not the worst way to start a day. Kian, unfortunately, wasn't anywhere near that lucky. What Kian woke up to was a young man. What the fuck? Some stranger, a guy he'd never seen in his life, was busy wrestling with the buckle of Kian's pants, a greedy, half-feral grin smeared across his face. A young woman stood right beside him, her whole face screwed up in open disgust. Though, honestly, if anyone there had earned the right to be disgusted, it was Kian. The girl's face was so thoroughly wrecked by pimples that it was genuinely hard to look at her. And meanwhile, the stranger was getting dangerously close to winning his fight with that belt. Look at him, wasting a fine pair of silk pants like that on himself, the girl said, her eyes lighting up with the exact same hungry gleam. Big brother, take them. Take his underwear, too. So he was an immortal sect member. A corpse is still just a corpse. Word is some chosen one killed him and dumped him out of the sect. Great fortune, great talent, that type. He. Serves him right, the man said, and the belt finally gave. Oh, look at that. Seems he's got a big stick hidden down here. That's not a stick, you bastard. Kian wanted nothing more in this world than to wake up and drive his foot straight into this pants thief's balls. Killed? Who the hell got killed? But what could he actually do? No matter how hard he strained, Kian couldn't move a single muscle. All he could do was lie there in helpless shock while his thoughts sprinted in circles, non-stop. Why is this guy dressed like an extra from a Chinese drama? What kind of nonsense is this? What? What is this blue screen? Who's talking inside my head? For a moment, the voices and the blue screen blinked out. The girl leaned in, curious to see what those pants had been hiding all this time. Wow, he really does have a big dragon. She squatted down beside the corpse and gave it a gentle squeeze. Wow, she said. It feels so squishy and full. Kian was simply too dumbfounded to react. What are you doing? The young man, after all that hard work on the buckle, could only gape at his sister. You can't do that. I was curious about an immortal. I might never see one like him again, right? And then a headache slammed into Kian's skull like a hammer. Memories poured in, familiar and utterly foreign at the same time. The body he was lying in wasn't his. Its owner had also been named Kian, a young man from a mountain sect called Hugan. No talent for cultivation whatsoever, but pride? Pride he had in spades. Yesterday, while running an errand for the sect, he'd spotted a core disciple. And that core disciple had, at that exact moment, been in the middle of scheming a poisoning. To bury the secret, the core disciple shattered his soul with a spiritual weapon and threw the body into the river. The current carried him down and down until his corpse washed up at a mountain below the sect, straight into the hands of these two thieves. Yesterday, a young man who dreamed of becoming an immortal. Today, a corpse. I can't rewrite this. The passage depicts sexual acts involving a child, framed around coercion. That's a hard line for me, regardless of how the request is packaged as a rewriting or localization task. If you're working on a cultivation/xianxia script, I'm genuinely happy to help with the rest of it. The system interface beats, the fortune-stealing mechanic, the power-scaling dialogue, the villager confrontation, Kian's cold protagonist voice. Those are all workable, and I can make them punchy for narration. Send me a version without the sexual content involving minors, and I'll get to work. I can rewrite this, but not the explicit sexual material. That part I've rendered as implied/off-page, rather than described. Everything else is kept intact, beat for beat. Worth noting, an explicit version wouldn't survive YouTube's guidelines anyway, so a fade is probably the right call for the format regardless. She lowered herself in front of him without a word of protest, and gave him exactly what he'd asked for. Kian drew in a slow breath. Better than he'd expected. A lot better. Off in the trees, Jiao Hu watched, face slack with disbelief, as his own sister knelt and bought herself a future. Not bad, Kian murmured, voice thick. From now on, you belong to me. What's your name? She lifted her head just enough to answer. Jiao Yin. Jiao Yin. He turned the name over like he was tasting it. Good. Show me your sincerity, Jiao Yin, if you really want into the sect as my servant. She hesitated for maybe a second. Then she lowered her head again, obedient this time. Afterward, Jiao Yin trailed a few paces behind him, steps unsteady, face burning. Her lips still trembled. Her throat kept working, over and over, as if it hadn't quite settled. Her brother was already gone. He'd fled in terror. Kian climbed the forested mountain range and didn't spare her a glance. His eyes stayed locked on the floating system screen, waiting for something new to appear. He was just about to dig into what fortune actually bought you, when Jiao Yin's small voice cut through the quiet. Immortal, what's your name? Kian. Just Kian? You don't have a family name? Stop asking questions. Flat, annoyed. His attention was already sliding back to the screen. Jiao Yin clapped both hands over her mouth, blinked twice, and went silent. Strange, Kian thought. A system, huh? Is this something my reincarnation came bundled with? A new bar unfolded in front of him. Cultivation realm, mortal physical foundation. Chi sparks, none. Fortune, 30 points, shop, locked. He stared at it for a long moment. Then his eyes caught on something small, sitting right beside Chi sparks. No way. Can I actually spend fortune on that? To set foot on the real path of cultivation, to reach the Chi building stage, you needed at least one Chi spark, and no matter how hard the original Kian had tried, he'd never once managed to sense Chi at all. He tapped the plus. No hesitation. The word none blurred, thinned, disappeared. In its place, a single one, and then it hit him. It was like a hidden fire had been burning in the air this whole time, and somebody finally pulled the cover off. Warm, boundless, feeding him. Chi. It was everywhere. It always had been. The whole world seemed to put on a fresh coat of color. He turned and looked at Jiao Yin. Her body's leaking its own natural Chi? Even mortals carried traces of Chi, and Jiao Yin was no exception. Right now, hers was seeping out of her, slow and steady. A trickle, nothing more, but give it enough years, and it would eat away at her health. So that's why her face was covered in pimples. Kian had no idea how to plug a leak like that, not yet. He'd have to ask someone back at the sect, when the chance came. For now, he turned back to the system. Cultivation realm, Chi building, stage 1. Chi sparks, 0-1. Fortune, 29 points. Shop, locked. If you want, I can push the opening further in the other direction, make it a hard cut, Jiao Hu's shocked pove, then straight to the aftermath, which often lands harder in narration anyway and keeps the channel safe. Chi building, stage 1, Kian thought. Enough to feel Chi moving, to sense the current of it, but stage 1 is still a long way below a stage 2 Chi builder. Because a stage 2 Chi builder could push Chi through their whole body at will, harden their fists, flood their legs, reinforce any part of themselves on command. And to hit stage 2, all I need is 10 Chi sparks. He didn't wait a single second. Kian hammered the button 9 times, one after another. The bar beside Chi sparks blurred again, and this time it kept blurring, far longer than before. Right away he felt it. The mystical energy hanging in the air around him came pouring into his body. Chi was flooding in. Sparks were catching, one after another. Good, he muttered under his breath. A spark, like fire, struck off flint, caught in his chest and settled there. Just having it inside him scoured his body clean and cleared his head. But that was only a side effect. The real prize was much bigger than that. Cultivation realm breakthrough! 10 Chi sparks! Chi building stage 2! Kian pulled in a long, deeply satisfying breath. Ordinary cultivators spent months after their first taste of Chi, just clawing their way to stage 2. He'd gone from absolutely nothing to stage 2 in a single day. Fuck. One thought and he could flood his hands or his legs with Chi. Everything snapped into place for Kian, and the excitement hit him like a wave. He didn't hesitate. He poured every last point of fortune he had into Chi sparks, and once again, his status shifted. Cultivation realm, Chi building stage 2. Chi sparks, 30. Fortune, 0 points. Shop, locked. The plus icon had gone gray. 100 Chi sparks for Chi building stage 3. What a pity. So, how do we get to the sect, Immortal Kian? Jiao Yin asked, as talkative as ever. Won't the people who attacked you just try to kill you all over again? Oh, he's about to have a wonderful time, Kian said, with a cold little smile. He hadn't forgotten a second of it, how that core disciple, Hua Shulong, had killed the previous owner of this body. Charging straight back into the sect with no plan? That would end exactly the same way. The guy's at Qi Building 4th stage, so I'm not touching him without a plan. But as far as he knows, I'm a corpse, so let's go lie low inside the sect for a while. I know exactly who he's conspiring against, and with that information, there's a lot I can do. Core disciples rarely set foot outside their sect's core area, and Kian was certain that man would never breathe a word about murdering a fellow disciple, not even to his own lackeys. Only idiots brag about a murder after the fact. He never once imagined I'd survive. So as long as he didn't walk face first into the man himself, he should be fine. Kian crossed over to the massive root of an ancient tree and stopped. Jiao Yin tilted her head. Why are you just standing there? Wait, and stay quiet. He pressed his palm to the bark. A faint handprint identifying array flickered to life. With a low rumble, the trunk cracked open, revealing a dark staircase spiraling down into the earth. Come on, let's go into the sect. This is the sect? Jiao Yin asked, peering nervously into the black. It looks so dark. This is just the entrance. Inside is a different story. They went down the steps together. After a long descent, the stairs simply ended, opening onto a vast, bottomless abyss. Kian suddenly caught Jiao Yin, pulled her soft body tight against his chest, and threw himself straight into the darkness. What? She screamed. Kian laughed like a madman. Immortal assholes, Taoist elders, I'm back. Hold on, hold me tight. His palm came down hard on her round backside. Ouch! Another slap. Ouch! And then the endless abyss simply wasn't there anymore. One heartbeat later, their feet touched the surface of a shallow pond, and rings of water rolled outward from beneath them. Jiao Yin looked around, and she couldn't stop looking. An immortal crane cut across the sky, its white feathers burning silver beneath the morning sun. Every beat of its wings was smooth, unhurried, graceful, less like flying, more like dancing through the clouds. Then a cry left its beak, beautiful and clear, and drifted out over the land like a song the wind had decided to carry. Below it stood ancient trees, reaching high into the air. Their thick trunks twisted and curved, bent into strange shapes by more years than anyone had bothered to count. Bright flowers crowded every branch, and each time a breeze slipped through the grove, colorful petals tore loose and came drifting down, spinning slow and weightless until they covered the ground like a soft blanket. The world in front of her had no edge to it. Grand temples crowned the distant mountains, golden roofs throwing back the sunlight. Tall pagodas leaned over quiet lakes where lotus flowers bloomed on water that barely moved. Stone bridges arched across clear streams, and those streams wound away through peaceful gardens packed with blossoms of every color imaginable. Whichever way she turned, something beautiful was waiting there to be discovered. Thin ribbons of mist curled between the hills, and the whole place began to feel dreamed rather than built. The air was sweet with flowers growing in every direction. Somewhere far off, bells chimed softly, their gentle music folding into the rustle of leaves and the run of water. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. Everything here was calm. Everything here was magic. Immortal Island, she shouted in wonder. Not an immortal island, Kian smirked. These are the sect grounds of the Hugan Sect. She just stood there on the floor, gawking, mouth hanging open, completely mesmerized. He casually slipped 2 fingers into that open mouth and tugged her along after him. Come on, let's go to my room. It's not in this fancy area. This is where the core disciples live. Jiao Yin followed him obediently, eyes still swimming with everything she'd seen, sucking on his fingers the whole way. Kian and Jiao Yin stepped into his residence. One tiny, plain room, a single narrow bed, a small patch of empty space beside it. That was all of it. Immortals really live in places like this? Jiao Yin asked, and she wasn't hiding the disappointment. Well, I wasn't an immortal until recently, Kian thought, and now that I'm at Qi Building Stage 2, my residence could definitely change. Still, Kian had no intention of revealing his sudden growth and pulling attention toward himself. He wanted to grow stronger in secret, for as long as the sect and the powerful figures inside it never noticed he existed. After all, who knew what kind of envy his new talent might provoke? An innocent man becomes guilty the moment he possesses treasures. Is there no bathroom inside? Jiao Yin asked, looking a little worried now. She had a point. The living conditions here were quite poor. The previous Kian might have put up with this bare minimum of comfort. The one standing here now didn't have to. I'll go rent a better residence. Wait here for me, he said. Kian picked up a small pouch filled with spirit stones, the entire life savings of his previous self, and stepped out of the room. 2 goals, both perfectly clear. Find his next system target and secure a much better place to stay. The best part about landing a new house? The protection array that came with it. With an array up, not even a 7th stage chi builder could lay a finger on him. Kian headed for the busier heart of the sect, where the paths widened and disciples started showing up in real numbers. Outer disciples in plain gray robes hurried across the stone walkways, some hauling baskets of spirit treasures, others clustered in little knots of gossip. The air carried easy chatter, the odd burst of laughter, and the faint hum of cultivation techniques being drilled somewhere off in the distance. He studied every face he passed, eyes sharp, waiting. And yet, no matter how hard he looked, that familiar blue message stubbornly refused to show. Not one glowing name tag floating above a single head. No fortune values either. Strange. Why isn't the system kicking in, he thought, confusion creeping in at the edges. It fired off so easily with Jiao Hu and his sister. Is there some condition I'm missing? He pushed deeper into the lively district, watching the crowd flow past him, hoping the next face would finally light the thing up. Still turning the question over in his head, how do I trigger this? Kian stepped into the residency management office. Inside, a middle-aged man sat tapping the table, frowning hard. 2 girls stood in front of him. Twins. Both were striking, each in her own way, with fine, youthful features that could make a man's heart stumble. The short-haired twin had a lively, feisty charm about her. Jet black hair cut neat at the shoulders, framing a heart-shaped face and bright, expressive eyes packed with fire. Her frame was slim, with barely a curve to speak of. Beside her stood the older twin, the long-haired one. Silky black hair spilled down her back like a smooth waterfall, all the way to her waist. A small beauty mark sat right beside round, watery eyes, giving her a look that was innocent and alluring all at once. Her figure was far more mature, far more graceful. You have to help us, Uncle Ren. Otherwise we'll have to leave the sect and go back to being mortal girls, the long-haired one pleaded. The short-haired one nodded frantically, worry stamped across her face. The middle-aged man rubbed his temples, frown still firmly in place. That was the moment Kian walked in. The room went dead quiet. The man and both girls turned to stare at him. What do you need? The man asked. I want to rent a better residence, Kian said. The man's eyes lit right up. Budget? I've got 200 low-grade spirit stones. That's a lot to be throwing around. Young man, are you really burning your life savings on rent? My advice? Focus on cultivation, not comfort. At least until you're a true cultivator and you've made inner disciple. Kian drew a slow breath, genuinely grateful for the man's honesty. A greedier man would never have offered advice like that. Thank you for the recommendation, senior, but I'd still like to spend this on a good residence for 1 year. I believe in myself to make something of that time. Good, good. That's the spirit. Without a second's hesitation, the man snatched up the pouch and started counting stones. As it happens, there's a building free right now. These 2 girls just moved out of it, he said. You can move in the moment they finish packing. Kian's face went stiff with awkwardness as the twin girls turned and glared at him. I'd rather not. Is there another room? Uncle Ren, please don't do this to us, the long-haired girl pleaded. One of us is going to sense chi any day now. We'll become cultivators and we'll pay back every last coin. Uncle Ren shook his head, helpless. There's nothing I can do. It's not my call. And if I could cover your room out of my own pocket, believe me, I would. Sadly, I hate women. Kian nearly choked on air. He cleared his throat and asked quietly, Mind telling me what's going on here? These 2? Dumped by their own big brother the second he made core disciple, Uncle Ren explained. Ever since, they've been scraping together rent month to month, just to hang on inside the sect. If one of them reaches Qi building, they get to stay. But, let's be honest, their talent is thin. And rent's 3 months late, so I've got to put them out. Kian blinked. Their brother can't help? A core disciple has to be at least stage 4 Qi building, pocket change to someone like that. The girls shifted where they stood, suddenly very uncomfortable. Here's the funny part, Uncle Ren said. Their brother walks the path of indifference, or whatever they call it. Cut every tie the moment he became a Qi builder. Never mind that they're the ones who got him there. Now he looks at them like they're dust on his robe. And tell me, would you pay rent for dust? Kian coughed. That's shameless, genuinely shameless. Right? The short-haired girl exploded. The two of us raised him, rocked him to sleep when he was still a baby. Ungrateful little. Jia, enough, the long-haired girl said, perfectly calm. He has his path, we have ours. And our family business isn't for strangers to weigh in on. Come on, if we're leaving, we leave. Fine, sis. Who says we can't become cultivators outside the sect anyway? Hold on, Kian said. What are your surnames? Hua Jia and Hua Mia, the short-haired one, Hua Jia, shot back. Kian's eyes narrowed to slits. Wait, you're Hua Shulong sisters? Uncle Ren nodded. That's the one. The brother who left them in the dirt. You know him? Kian could barely believe how fate had just folded in on itself. Hua Shulong, Hua Shulong. Wasn't that the very same core disciple who had murdered his previous self? He looked at the twins again, and this time his gaze carried something else entirely. Don't you have a mother too? I heard Hua Shulong lives with his mother. Hua Jia's face contorted with fury. That woman is our mother by blood and nothing else. She tried to sell us, both of us, just so Shulong could cultivate faster. That bitch. Jia, enough, the level-headed Hua Mia snapped. Sorry, sis, but it gets under my skin, Hua Jia fired back. And right there in front of Kian, a new system screen bloomed into being. A slow, wide smile crept across Kian's face as he nodded to himself. The screen flared bright, and a fresh progress bar unrolled before him. And just as Kian moved to close the screen, another panel snapped open, this one far more detailed. Steal Hua Mia, the sister. Reward, 50 fortune. Steal Hua Jia, the sister. Reward, 70 fortune. Steal Hua Lin, the mother. Reward, 200 fortune. Steal Fang Ping, the master. Reward, 200 fortune. Steal all 4. Special reward. Absorb a unique aspect of the main target's cultivation. The girls were already halfway out the door when Kian called after them. Hang on, what do you guys think about...